Hello and welcome to the incredibly quiet new Toyota Corolla Hatch. It's very quiet. I feel like I should whisper. Anyway, this all new Toyota used to actually be called the Auris, and up until a couple of weeks before they launched this one, it was still called the Auris. So the last minute they decided, nope, we're going to trade on that Corolla nameplate, and here we go, a hatchback called a Corolla. So it's a tough segment, this. Golfs, Focuses, Hyundais, Kias, that sort of thing. What does this car do to set itself apart? Car journalists love segments. We love talking about segments. It's a bit weird. Let's get the unpleasant stuff out of the way up front. Pricing starts at $336,000 for the entry-level manual and goes all the way up to about 30,000 Rand, more than that for this, the range-topping XR CVT. It's a 1.2 turbo from the Toyota CHR. Yep, no diesels, nothing larger than that, but keep in mind that Golfs these days run 1 liters and so do Ford Focuses. So 1.2 is actually huge, 20% bigger. You probably want to know the power figures: 85 kilowatts, 185 newton meters, and that's not a huge amount, but I wouldn't describe this car as sluggish. Right, welcome to the inside of the Corolla Hatch. Now, I really like it in here. Very elegant, very classy, very upmarket. Leather everywhere, leather wrapped steering wheel, leather down here. Yeah, it looks good. Everything you see here is pretty much standard across the range. If you go for the top of the range XR model, which I'm in, you get these lovely sporty bucket seats with this chrome detail behind me here. Half Alcantara, half leather. Very nice to look at, very nice to sit in, and they're heated. But otherwise, keyless entry with keyless ignition, electric windows all round, electric mirrors. This touchscreen is standard, electric handbrake as well, steering wheel controls too. Pretty much everything is electric, dual zone climate control. Very well spec'd indeed. However, there are some key things missing in my opinion. You can't get sat nav, there isn't even the option, and this system has no phone connectivity. And unfortunately, when it does arrive later this year, maybe next year, existing owners won't be able to upgrade their system. So that's a bit of a downside for me. And then one thing I have to warn you about, turn the car on. Now, a reverse camera is standard, and of course it's very useful. Everyone likes being able to see behind them, but there's no park distance control. So although you can see very clearly what's behind you, keep in mind that the car is not going to beep and shout at you and tell you that you're about to bump into something. So top tip, don't damage your car. Ladies and gentlemen, the boot. Guessing you knew that already, but quick bit of trivia for you. The entire boot lid is actually made out of a resin, which makes it a lot lighter and easier to shape. But I mean, if no one told you, you'd never know. But that brings me to one of the only problems I have with this car, and that is the boot space. So Toyota South Africa have opted for a full-size spare, even with an alloy, which is quite nice, I suppose. But what that means is that the boot loses a lot of depth. So I mean, it's fairly big, wide, and fairly deep, and the seats do fold flat. But I have a feeling it's going to fail the cooler box test. Here we go, the moment of truth. Oh dear. The first thing you're going to notice when you drive this car is how incredibly quiet it is. It's so smooth, the ride quality, the ride comfort, the way it deals with imperfections in the road, potholes, bad surfaces, it is super impressive. You can just tell they've spent a lot of time and a lot of money getting this right. I think they maybe kidnapped some Lexus engineers and made them build a car for them and, you know, said don't tell anyone. It's like a cocoon in here, so peaceful, so tranquil. Just take a nap. Your passengers will love it, you know. I mean, try not nap while you're driving. It's not great, not a good thing. So amongst the choices you have to make when looking at a Corolla Hatch is, would you like a manual, 6-speed manual, or would you like the CVT? There's no traditional auto. And I'll take you through that in a second, but what I want to talk about first is the handling. So this car is actually lower and wider than the car it replaces, and they've managed to drop the center of gravity because of some clever engineering in the chassis, and it actually handles really well. It feels low slung, almost sports car like. And it's an open secret that Toyota is building some sportier versions of this, and I think this is a very good foundation on which to build a hot hatchback. I'm actually really looking forward to those cars. Hopefully they make a Grumman version. No. It's a terrible name. So the CVT, not a traditional auto, it actually doesn't really have any gears. It's got a fairly complicated setup of cones and bands. It's very boring. But what it means is that it doesn't drive like a traditional automatic. You don't get this build-up of engine speed and then a gear change and the engine speed drops and repeats itself. Under constant acceleration, the engine will hold a constant speed, and so you get a bit of a drone. And normally I would say, nah, don't go for the CVT. I'm actually a car journalist, and it's in our DNA to hate CVT gearboxes. And yes, if you do have a Subaru WRX, it's not great to have a CVT. But in here, for driving around town, it's absolutely fine. And you know, the thing is, it's such a relaxing car to drive. Life is stressful as it is, traffic stressful as it is. I don't want to be that guy sitting in traffic clutching in every 5 seconds. Go for the CVT. It costs 10 grand more than the manual on the XS model, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it. In South Africa at the moment, hatchbacks are quite a tough sell. We're an SUV mad country, and if you've got between 300,000 and 400,000 rand to spend on a car, chances are you're probably more excited about an SUV. But I would say, if you do enjoy driving, if you actually enjoy the way a car handles, then you really want to be in a hatchback. If you aren't terribly interested in getting anywhere in a hurry, then this 1.2 turbo is just fine. But I have a feeling that the sport versions of this car are going to be cracking. So can't wait for those to arrive, and maybe if you do have your eyes on a Toyota Corolla Hatch, it might be worth waiting just a little bit longer. On Cars.co.za right now, we have a whole page dedicated to new car specials. It's constantly being updated, and there are cars for every price bracket. Head over there now and find yourself a great deal.